Hey guys, how you doing? What are signet rings or family crest rings? What are they? How did they become so famous that people just love them? Number one is obviously conspicuous. You can see it. So it's a conversational starter, right? It's a remarkable piece of jewelry. Remarkable means people are going to remark about it. So in terms of my background, I'm Patrick, and I'm the CEO of Orukka Smart Rings. Smart Rings means we actually uh, bring some sort of, let's call it modern touch to rings, because we allow users actually make payments with their rings. And Signet is part of that as well. So if you have a Signet, we bring some modern touch to it because now we allow people to do more with their Signet, which I'll discuss in the future shortly. So let's talk about Signet rings. What are they? So Signet rings are effectively family crests that people used those days when, platinum, I think it started many centuries ago. It's an old tradition that I think it started with one perspective and then it suddenly changed and now it's a lot more fashion and aesthetic driven. But previously it's always been here since I think I just had my notes here. Yep, the Egyptian gods. That's how long ago it was. So effectively, it's been there since the Egyptian times. And what used to happen then is the pharaohs and obviously the leaders and rulers of those times used to have a crest which symbolizes a god. And again, much more on the religious side, but just to show what they used. And it was exactly the same shape as we have today. And it's always worn on this finger as well. And although some might have worn it here, I think William Churchill, for instance, used to wear his ring on the right hand side, which was bizarre, right? Because again, you're wearing it on your right wedding finger, which should not be the case. So let me start with that actually, right? Why don't we talk about what fingers you're supposed to wear it? So again, we have obviously 5 fingers, right? Most people. Now this is usually one for power. So it's usually a bulky ring would go in here and it symbolizes power and some sort of authority. Most people wear it for that. Now this is more or less for control. And again, it usually would be for things like smart rings where you can read a pulse from. It's also for when you want to just point. Also, some professions also we wear on this ring, on this wear ring on this finger. Then we have the middle finger, which again most people use a wedding ring on. Some traditions allow that, but generally I think you see a lot more people using the health rings on this as well within these two, and that's because this finger is reserved for the wedding finger. Is actually called a wedding ring finger. Even if you don't, most people call it that. And so this is the middle finger, the wedding ring finger. Have obviously the pinky ring, pinky coming in from the Dutch word for little finger. And that's where it came in from. So in general, I think the question now becomes, where should you wear your signet ring? You could wear it on any finger, okay? But in general, I think those days in the like rings first started, people used to wear it here, especially around the 17th century when it became like a really big and elite thing. So again, the Egyptians started it. The Bronze Age was when it started to become more bronze. It started to become more of an aesthetic feel, a fashion feel to it. Previously, it was always among gods. And then afterwards, from the 11th to the 17th century, that was when we then have this kind of resurgence towards elites, like, lords wearing this to symbolize their family crest and the history and the rich history that they came with. So it was always a good story tell, especially where if you have a coat of arms, if you've designed something around it, it was always good to show that. And that's why the 11th to 17th century, we had that. But then I think around the 18th century started to turn towards fashion a lot more. I would attribute this to most movies that came out around that time. So this is, I mean, for me especially, there was a Godfather, the Goodfellas, where everyone, Tony Soprano, all these guys, the Sopranos, had this, and then they'll have the pinky ring here, which again, it started off as I think the Wolf of Wall Street also had this as well. It was always a statement of people who were not powerful or wanted to show power. So a lot of the rings, I mean, not the Wolf of Wall Street, not the Wolf, the Wall Street, by Michael Douglas. He had this as well, and he was playing this kind of banker character, where he wasn't really a banker, but he was from nowhere and wanted to try and prove himself and to show that he had this son, which. Believe it or not, shows power. But that's the first thing people see. Instinctively, you think this man has some history behind him and has some integrity, and that was what he played a lot into. And that's the same as well with any of the other characters, Tony Soprano and all those guys, where it was really around the mafia move where they always thought, again, drug dealers and nefarious characters had this on. However, they did that more for control. So it was always there because that's the first thing you see. Okay. And we're going to even modern movies. So again, this was mostly around men. Okay. I've talked about men a lot. But women then also started wearing it around the 18th, 19th century. You know, at least one famous person I know I loved and looked up to was Kate Moss. Looked up to. She's not that older than I am. But Kate Moss had this on her pinky finger, which everyone saw, especially in our modeling. So whenever you see that, that's the first thing that your eye gets, dragged into immediately. Sex and the City as well. I'm not saying I watched it. Yeah, just Sarah Jessica Parker used to have that on as well. Coming to America, so a lot of men and women these days wear it, and again, it's all attributes to not just fashion, not just a statement, a strong statement, but also just showing some history behind it. Okay, and it's a good storytell. And it comes to us now. So now the question is, what do people do now? So right now, people go ahead and create. For us, we're the first to do this in the world. There might be a few people doing it. I don't know. But what we do is that we allow you link it so that you can open up a family tree. So what will happen is you have your crest designed, you go in, you tap it on the phone. When you tap it, it shows up a page of your family tree. We link it to genealogy and a few other websites where if you wanted to correct a few things, you can correct it. But you can see your family tree, which I think is really cool and brings some a modern touch to it. Same thing as well, it also shows you some documents. Okay, I'm not going to say what our customers use it for, but you can use it for to hide or hold documents that you want to pass on to your children for inheritance reasons. So that's something which again goes on the ring, believe it or not. So that's interesting in terms of what people now do with the signet ring. So that it's not just a picture or a crest, but it's also now linked to technology as well, which is interesting considering far history of this, where this was coming from. Now, how do you get a signet ring? Again, as usual, feel comfortable, wherever you feel comfortable. There are a lot of jewelers out there. Just search signet rings. You would see a lot. In fact, you're possibly on this station because you've searched signet rings. So just pick one you want, okay? And again, you could go for a simple straight cut or a round. The round signet rings are actually the most famous and the most recognizable, although you can also go with the square cut as well. And then what you want to do then is also get a crest together. Now, for us, we'll design a crest with you, but some simple ones on Amazon or really cheap ones would allow you to just buy one off the street. So you can just buy a crest and just use it, wear it. That's okay. Because at the end of the day, it's a fashion piece. So if you feel comfortable and you like the material, you like the ring size, it's good on your pinky, wear it. But if you want something more customizable, you can also do that. So with us, what you do and with anyone else, any fashion jewelry, right? What you should do then is you go ahead, you design crests, you pick a design. So they will actually let you know. And then in terms of the customization, pick a crest and decide what you want to do. In fact, for me, if you're going customized, the customized route, you should design a crest yourself. And they can always give you ideas. So you can say, hey, I would like to see this animal. If you love an animal, you pick an animal. Also pick your interest as well. So for instance, you could have a symbolism where it represents your most loved animal, then represents also your children if you chose to, or your family in terms of numbers. So you can have 3 dogs or 3 cats, whatever as your crest, because those are your 3 kids that you have, for instance, or 3 siblings. You can have that. And then secondly, your interest as well. So you can always put a football or basketball or whatever sport you play that you love to show in there, or swimming or anything that interests you, golf, fishing, anything. But it's important to put that together because that's the story. That tells your story about one, who you are, number two, what you like, and number three, who's important to you, all on that crest, which is important. You don't see that with any other ring. Okay? You don't see it with the health ring. You don't see it with the payment ring. It's just to make a payment. But with that ring, with the crest, the signet ring, it tells you a lot more in terms of yourself, which I think is a very good conversational piece. So once you've done your design on the crest and your pictures, you upload that, and then we get to work. So we'll get to work in terms of designing the structure of the piece. And then lastly, then you go in and you download our app. And oh, sorry. So most jewelers, you stop there. Okay. You download the crest, put your crest on the ring, and you get posted out. For us, we then go ahead and create a page for you where you'd actually see your genealogy. You can edit that as well, and you can decide when to share it. So again, these are all NFC type rings in the sense that you tap it on a phone and it opens up a page and shows your genealogy and shows a picture of the crest as well. If for some reason you don't want to have just a crest here, you can also show it there, which shows your crest and then shows you your the genealogy as well. It's a good, very good story tell and conversational starter. And more importantly as well, is something you can pass on to your children so they can always see and explain and know who their uncles, aunties, granddad, or whoever is across the tree. So just to summarize once again, Net rings are really important. They tell the story about us, and they've been around for a long time. And they will continue to be here. Again, I've said, no matter what tech does, whatever is happening these days, we still want to look pretty. We still want to have a story. We're still going to wear rings, no matter what. This has been around for several years. There's been a lot of revolution that's come in and out. Humans still love to adorn ourselves. So that's key. So that would always remain. And if I were you, I'll go grab a signet ring right now. You have to think about it, then it's worth it. Thank you.